While the body is curing from the final couple coats of clear, I could move on to the interior and chassis in the meantime. All of the parts were cut out of the sprues, cleaned up a bit, and then stuck to some sticks with double-sided tape in order for them to be painted. Firstly, a couple coats of primer were applied, and then various different colors for all of the pieces. Once the color was applied to all of the pieces, I took a couple pieces aside and gave those a clear coat as well to make them nice and glossy. With the clear coat dried up and all the other colors as well, I could move on to detailing. I started with a permanent marker to add some detail on the coils and also on some of the black lines on the interior. Now most of it on the interior can't really be seen as the interior itself is a really dark blue and the black just doesn't really show up that well, but it's there, it's a nice additional detail and it looks a whole lot better than everything would have been in just black. Other details were also added with just a brush and some silver paints. A couple parts in the interior and also on the chassis itself were a bit too clean and could use a bit more shade, so I added some Panelline accent color to it. Firstly just some black, and on the exhaust I played with a couple different colors and also added some brown as well to give it a bit of a different tone to some separate parts and pieces on that final exhaust piece. The dashboard and steering wheel have a lot of colors and also comes with a big fuse panel, and that also needed to add some additional details to it. So I firstly took out a red permanent marker to mark most of these buttons up as they mostly needed to be red, and then also took out some colors and added some black as well to the fuse panel, and later on I will finish it off with some decals too. During the unboxing of this kit, I mentioned that the standard ride height of the kit isn't really that great, and it kinda looks weird in combination with the tires. Now, I also figured out during the assembly of this chassis why that was. Most of these parts do not fit together at all. They need to have a bit more room, the holes are a bit too small, and they simply just don't fit, so you need to either add a lot of pressure in order for them to fit in, or just remove a bit of the plastic to make them fit a lot better. So with that out of the way and mostly fixed on all of these parts, the wheels and tires actually fit pretty well, and it doesn't really look that bad, and in fact it can't even be lowered anymore as the tires are already touching the inside of the fender wells, and therefore you need to cut out the fender wells in order for it to be lowered. But in that case it would be really low, and that doesn't really add anything to the build, as it would be laying on the ground with its nose. In the unboxing video I also mentioned that I did not like the look of the stock seat that came with the kit, so I changed it out for one from Scale Production. I painted that up, added some carbon fiber decals to the back, and also added some decals to the rest of the interior before moving on to doing the final assembly on it. The chassis and interior are together, and that means this part is finished. So overall, after figuring out that most of the chassis parts don't fit together and need a bit of extra room for them to fit, it goes together pretty well. Now if you don't take this into account and just want to smash it all together, it won't look good and the stance will not be that great either. So take that into consideration and hopefully fix it on your build so it does look as best as it can.